I've heard a ton about this NARPM 2.0. Really, I've heard a lot of noise around it, but not a lot about what's like happening inside of it, what it actually means. Just like I had also heard a lot about DD Lee, aka DD Garzon, the incoming president-elect of the NARPM board. And it wasn't until now that I sat down with her to talk about NARPM 2.0 that I realized how profoundly impactful I think this NARPM 2.0 is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and say it right now, and confirmed all the great things that I had heard about DD. This is a preview as we go into NARPM Nationals in about 10 days. She just came off of this NARPM board meeting, strategic board meeting, where everything got crystallized, and she shared the details of everything that's coming, what's changing with NARPM 2.0, how they are going to actually drive bottom line revenue and influence for property managers that are a part of NARPM. You're going to want to hear this conversation. It's going to get you super pumped ahead of NARPM Nationals if you're there. And if you're not at NARPM Nationals, you're going to be really happy that you heard this conversation because it's a big deal. Enjoy this conversation with me and Didi. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. I use content as a way to serve, right? Like, how do I be the stage for others? And how do we use this repurposing engine that we have on the background in order to help strategic initiatives move forward that can create win-win scenarios? So definitely trying to, at NARPM, we're doing the thing with the CMCs. I don't know if you know about that program.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I've
then
been talking to Pam about it.
Cool. What have you heard about that? Just curiously, right? Because we did the educational part at Broker Owner. I feel like some things went well. There was a couple technical things that I think could have gone a lot better. But what's the overall sentiment on that?
With the CRMCs, I know we're trying to get more recognition, right? I would say there are very few CRMC companies that exist today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a designation that should be valued because it takes a lot to become a CRMC. And we really need to talk about that more with membership. And also, members don't care about it unless it's talked about with the public.
Yes.
Right. So that's going to lead into my NARPM 2.0 initiative. This is actually the perfect timing, Pablo. I'm actually glad we waited to today because literally an hour ago, we just finished a call with the board of directors where we solidified our strategic initiatives for next year. We met, we had a whole strategic planning committee that met in Virginia Beach in September. We developed the initiatives, and then today the board got together and kind of finessed it a little bit more, and we all got on the same consensus. So now we have enough, at least at a high level, to be able to share with people at convention. And then the next board meeting, which is the Friday after convention, we're going to officially approve it, adopt it, and we're going to start executing. So there's a lot of good stuff coming with NARPM 2.0. People have been hearing NARPM 2.0, but every person I talk to, I always ask, what do you know about NARPM 2.0? And they can't really tell me. So I have, because through all of my conversations, I've developed a elevator pitch.
Oh, I love it.
The why with NARPM 2.0 is historically with NARPM, it's a volunteer-driven organization. We're proud of it. It's always what we talk about. Volunteer. This is why you should volunteer. We talk about that, right? At the chapter level, state level, national level, because all the work has been done by volunteers. All the chapters are run by volunteers. Nationally, all the work on the committees are done by volunteers. There's a problem with that, right, Pablo, is volunteers, they put their families first, hopefully, right? Families first, then their work, their profession, their career, and then maybe some time for themselves. And then they're like, okay, and then if I have time, I'll think about my volunteer work. Well, no one has time these days. So guess what? Volunteer work is done very slowly or not at all, right? Like the committees, it's like So hard to just get 10 people on a meeting in the first place.
Yeah.
So a lot of times like these meetings get pushed back, they get canceled. People are too busy during the summer to meet. And then all of these initiatives that we've had year after year, although they sound great, great dreams, great goals, they don't get really accomplished the right way. So NARPM 2.0 is moving from that volunteer-driven organization to now professionally led. What that means is now we're still going to have volunteers. The board is still going to be made up of volunteers. Local leaders, right? The board, local board, state board are still going to be volunteers, but now volunteers are going to be true leaders, the visionaries, the strategists, the planners. And then we're going to come up with, this is what we want done. This is what NARPM should look like. And then staff will drive it. They will execute it. They will do all the day-to-day work that's going to take our goals and our initiatives to reality. And they're going to do this full time and they get paid for it, right? So that is the whole difference. So when you have people who specialize, for example, marketing, like you, we have someone who's an expert in marketing, doing marketing for NARPM. We have a whole team doing that. Like, what do you think, right? Marketing will look like for NARPM. It's going to be way better than what we've got today.
Yeah.
So that is the idea behind NARPM 2.0.
That sounds awesome, right? Like what I hear when you make the point with marketing, where my head goes to, it's like when someone is, and this has been my journey, right? Because I don't know if you're saying an expert in marketing and referring to me, but I haven't really thought of myself that way until very, very recently. Because it's like I never studied it. Right? Like I did not become called a marketer until way after not having jobs in marketing, whatever, right? So I think of when it comes to marketing on a small scale, someone who just kind of like knows how to do cool things and make things interesting as it comes up, and you get the opportunities to just like add a little bit of spin and make it more interesting. Someone that does it professionally, does it deliberately. And that to me has been the big arc before I got to really like self-identify as a marketer. So, and I just say that to say, it is much more effective when somebody sees this as their job and isn't just like side gigging this thing and isn't like a passion, but it's a deliberate execution of things. So if you're telling me that NARPM marketing is now going to become more deliberate, tell a real story throughout an extended period of time, as opposed to doing arts and crafts at certain moments, and then you extend that into the other departments, membership and events and like activism, right? Like all these other NARPM
100%.
departments. What I'm hearing is like we're getting ready to see a world where we're going from a bunch of promises that kind of kicked the can down the line to a world of results that are going to start to materialize really quickly that people have been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, man, you phrased it like so well. I need to copy that.
Well, I'm a marketer now.
Put that in writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pablo, people have been asking for this for years, right? Yeah. It's like, what can NARPM National do for me, the member?
Yeah.
And okay, here are things that NARPM National should do for members, in my opinion, is things that an individual member, like a small mom and pop property management company, can't do. Or they don't have the resources to do it, or they don't have the time to do it, which is marketing. Costs a lot of money to do marketing the right way. You know this, right? Legal help, like that costs a lot of money. Legislative impact, right? These are the things that like your individual property management company's not going to have the resources or time to do. So these are the areas where NARPM National should step in to help our members. So, we're leading into it. One of the biggest priorities for the next 2 years is public branding, public recognition, public marketing, right? We are now, instead of like NARPM sitting back in the background in the shadows of NAR and the apartment associations, right? We're now going to stand up and say, hey, this is who we are. This is who NARPM is. These are our opinions and our stance on different housing hot topics, right? This is what we think about this one piece of legislation that's coming, whether it's stupid or it's good. Like we're actually going to be loud and proud and bold about it. Because once we start doing that, the media is going to start noticing. Yeah. Look, Congress is going to start noticing us. And then guess what? The next step is they're going to come to us actually for our opinions before introducing a bill. before, publishing an article about housing. Now we get quoted in articles. That is like PR for NARPM, but mostly the marketing piece is once we know who we are, now we're going to go out to the public and saying, hey, Mr. Mrs. Investor, accidental landlord, when you're hiring a property manager, you need to hire an NARPM member. You need to hire a designated member. And here's the difference. We're actually going to paint a relatable story, right? That's going to show the pain point of an investor dealing with a property manager who's not educated, doing things the wrong way, not picking up their phones, and then say, you know what, do you want that? Or do you want a professional property manager who's gone through education, who has implemented the best technology to be able to manage your property? You need to go to an NARPM member. And we're going to do this. These campaigns are going to be nationwide. So it's going to hit all the markets where our members are.
I love hearing this. I don't know if you know kind of my involvement with NARPM really started when they invited me to keynote broker owner in 2024. And before that, like I got into the space because, and even got into marketing because I care about community, right? Like I had this like insight about community 10 years ago at my brother's funeral. And I've just been on this mission to prove that community is like the future of business development. And I started a company around it about 5 years ago. My biggest client became JWB Real Estate Capital in Jacksonville, launched this like $40 million channel for them through community. And then 4 years later, I'm keynoting NARPM broker owner because of what I did for JWB. And before that keynote, Tracy, who had hired me to come talk, was like, hey, can you talk to our CMCs like right before you go on? I'm like, God, Tracy, I'm like about to give the biggest talk of my life. You want me to like talk to other people as I'm like, so, but I'm really happy I was in that room because I heard exactly the problem that you are solving. And it was the idea that this CRMC program and the designations and really just like the credibility of being part of NARPM as a community has done a great job of bringing people together, making them feel like they belong, supporting them. But what I know about community is that it works even better when it is very deliberate about doling out status, right? So in all well-functioning communities, there's like a hierarchy. There's a little bit of a pecking order kind of things. And communities that do a really, really good job of doling out status within the community can create this like engagement mechanism of, oh, I want to get more and more involved because it's cool to be the president of NARPM and be the president-elect and come in and do this type of stuff, right? It attracts the high achievers. But then in order to recruit new people into the community, it needs to do a good job of doling out status outside of the community. Yeah. And that to me was like the missing piece for NARPM of just like, you have a very well-functioning organism of status within the community, but you need to create this like status signaling outside of it. And that was the big aha of like why I've been doing these like content pieces of the designations is to start to make that happen.
We appreciate everything you've done. It's definitely been noticed that Vendoroo has, you guys have stepped up to do this for us. And we love that. We love that partnership with you.
Cool. Thank you. That. I really appreciate you saying that. Thanks. Because I feel I'm always like, I'm not doing enough, right? But yes. So I think that that's a major thing, and how that trickles down, isn't just going to be for the designations, but it is the driving demand for the property manager themselves, and driving demand from your client's client kind of thing. Like to me, that's like the ultimate value add that you can give. And what I'm hearing from you is number one in marketing for attracting, like saying, oh, I'm looking for a property manager. It needs to be a NARPM property manager. The same way that the NAR created the word realtor, like you have the chance to like coin professional property manager if you want, or something like that, right? Like then I'm hearing when it comes to legislation and regulation, like instead of us going to Capitol Hill to advocate for like, don't make these stupid decisions, them coming to us before they make a stupid decision sounds like
much better, right? Well, because lobbying is, of course, it's necessary, it's needed, but it's a long-term game. Like you're in it for years before you can even impact a change. So something that, we want to focus on now is how do we bring changes that are faster and make faster impact for our members, right? So to change that, it's like, let's become the leaders. Let's become the leading voice and stand up for our members. So we then like the question about marketing and national campaigns, right? Is, well, who do you target? Are you going to do like, are we going to do broad marketing to everybody? Or how are we going to target this? So that's going to be our next piece, the next initiative, which is data. Like data. So there's two focuses here with data. One is membership data. So we're actually through the NARPM profile, membership profile, which I want to say on here for anyone who is listening, right? Please go on the NARPM website and complete your membership profile. It's a new feature. We've upgraded it. It's asking several more questions now than just your name, where you're from, and things like that. That data is not random. It's there to help NARPM figure out where our members are coming from, you know, how long they're staying with NARPM before they decide to stop renewing, right? And who is joining us, like who's our membership? We need to know that to start with. And then we need to know where our majority of our members are located. And wherever they are is where we're going to target marketing. So we're gonna start with those areas first before we go to like the middle of Wyoming. Sorry if you're in Wyoming, but right. So that's why it's important. So if you guys want NARPM to help you with marketing, tell us where you are first. So go on the NARPM webpage, complete your membership profile, tell us who you are. We will use that data to help you. The second piece of data is rental market data. So NARPM also, we want to position ourselves in the industry as the number one source of rental market data. We should be, because we are the origin of where this data is coming from. So our hope with that is to partner with different tech vendors who are out there who already house millions of data, right? Millions of data points that we can tap into with the approval of members, of course, and pull this data anonymously so that we can intelligently say, okay, the average renewal rate for our industry, professionally managed home, is 90% versus not professionally managed home, which is 30%. Now you see the difference, right? And then this data is also going to tell us just all of the rental market data points, right, that people care about. So your property management company can look at this national data and compare themselves to where the industry average is and say, okay, that's the benchmark. Let's go towards it. Let's have a goal, right? We're no longer taking data set from like 300 doors or 300 companies. Now we're looking at nationwide. And then this data is also going to be something that we can package and maybe sell to other vendors, sell to people outside of our NARPM, right, influence, and say, look, we are the source. If you want the best data, you come to NARPM, either become a member to access this data, or you can buy this data from us, right? And so we want to be that source. And then we'll also, with the data, Pablo, we can take it to Congress and say, hey, this is what's going on with our industry. This is who you're impacting. This is what, who your bills are going to impact. You might want to think about that twice, right? So with data comes power, with data comes knowledge. And that's why we're going to put that as one of our top priorities for next year.
First of all, I just got so pumped, right? Like from an entrepreneur angle, what you just described to me, now NARPM is thinking like Amazon thinks, as opposed to like a volunteer organization thinks, right? Like you are taking the things that you have access to and kind of like your hedgehog, which is, hey, we have a bunch of, like we have this distribution of like data points better than everybody else and more, like across a bigger thing, and turning it into like a flywheel type of advantage. Like this is like reading like a Jim Collins book. And I can't help but think that, if I'm not wrong, I was doing a little bit of research on you before this. You're a computer scientist by background, right?
Yes.
Is this
I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
Thanks for revealing that about myself.
No, I mean, this is what happens when you put professionals in charge, right? Like your unique insight into like, hey man, this is how tech works. And to be perfectly honest, this gap, what you're filling right now, which will eventually be NARPM's big moat, and I think a giant source of value for everybody, right? Like a real flywheel type of value, is something that historically has just been kind of like the gap that vendors have been filling in a way to gain our own advantage, right? Like filling in these services and doing these reports have been like big marketing plays for some of the vendor partners, me doing the marketing thing at broker owner and whatever, right? Like that has been something that has been there for NARPM to really capitalize on and get the value themselves. And how you're describing it makes perfect sense. It has a beautiful architecture of how you do it in a way that serves the membership. You do it in a way that's going to provide effective results. And then at the end of the day, you do it in a way that's going to really move the needle in the industry and make NARPM something that funds itself over time and has volunteers because it wants volunteers, not because it needs your dues, which is a major strategic event, right? That's what real estate investors do when they're building a portfolio, right? Like they're building up cash flow so that they don't have to work at their jobs later.
Yeah,
You're kind of doing the same thing.
it has to be an ecosystem that, is self-sustaining, right?
Yeah.
And we're not always like begging for volunteers. We're not always begging for members. It should be the other way around. People should want to volunteer, because now with NARPM 2.0, being a volunteer means being a leader. You're no longer asked to, but of course we are all have a servant heart. That's why we want to volunteer, but we're not just looking for like the doers, the worker bees. Yeah. We want people who are truly visionaries and leaders in our industry. And then they can use their industry experience and knowledge to then guide and advise staff who, the experts in marketing, the experts in putting together education material, right? Guide them. We're feeding them the industry knowledge, and then also managing that and holding that staff or that company accountable to making sure they're doing it for us.
Yeah. You guys get to be essentially the expert in the insight, because you have the insight into the market, and they get to be the expert of the execution, right? That's like right. My formation as a professional, I was like 15 years in the construction industry, but it was really kind of like from age 30 to 37 that I got super involved in nonprofits, and I got on the board of multiple nonprofits. There's a big difference between the board of the Miami Lighthouse for the Blind that has like a giant endowment fund and is building like 4-story schools for blind enabled kids, versus the Dream and Green board that I was on that was like 12 people trying to get people to recycle in schools. Like the impact that you can make once you flip the switch to play offense and you start to fund yourself and take these kinds of strategies for a nonprofit is massive. What else? All right. So the data plays there. The marketing intent is there. What else can you tell me from these strategic meetings that you can reveal ahead of NARPM Nationals that we can share?
Yeah. The third thing, again, we want changes to be seen and felt, right, by members this time. Like we don't want to just make a bunch of empty promises and they're not going to see it, right? And so the third piece, and I mentioned before, is like these are the things that your individual property management company is going to be really hard for them to achieve on their own, which is legislative impact and legal help. So from that perspective, right now, a lot of our members are being impacted by legislative changes, right? There are some states who are more impacted than others. And what do these members do? I mean, they get hit with one EPA fine, they're out of the business. So it's first step is getting our legal, like we have a lot of legal talent in our industry, attorneys who specialize in our space, and they work, right? They see cases after cases. So putting their experience together, like putting their case studies together as a guide for our members to learn from. And then if something, were to happen to one of our members, now they have a resource to go to and say, oh, so-and-so in this case, exactly the same thing happened. I can take that and apply it to myself, right? And learn from that. Secondly, is we're going to gather these attorneys together who have expertise in fighting different types of legal claims and legislative issues, and then getting them together to do a rotational office hour. So members can call in if they have a question. If they got a letter from the EPA, they don't know how to start, what to do. Normally it would cost them like thousands of dollars to go and hire an attorney to help them, right? And this attorney might not even be qualified to help them. So now they have a place to go to ask for help, get some guidance free of charge. NARPM is going to take care of that. NARPM is going to pay for these attorneys to sit in on office hours, answer those questions. And of course, like if it goes deeper than that, they can work with those attorneys directly, but at least they have somewhere to start with and some resources to guide them. It's better than just figuring out on your own.
The other big strategic advantage of communities is being able to pool resources for the common good, right? Mm-hmm. So like, what does everybody need? Why don't we all pitch in, right? To like get something like that. Super smart. Wow. Oh man, I'm super impressed so far. Like as like a student of community and like the power of it, like so far A+. Like this is really cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. This is really interesting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything else? I feel like you came prepared with a bunch of speaking points. I don't want to like,
no, this actually it's just perfect timing because we literally just had the call on strategic initiative. So it's all fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing we talked about on that meeting is, guys, these changes sound great, but no one's going to be a believer because we've been telling them change is coming for so long.
Yeah.
They're not going to believe it. It's going to be like, well, this sounds good. We're excited, but is it actually going to happen? So for us, making it happen is more important, right, than what it looks like, what it sounds like on paper.
Yeah.
So we're committed to that. OMG, our management company, is committed to that. With all of these changes, I mean, it's not going to be cheap, right? Marketing, data, everything we're talking about, attorneys, like everything we're talking about are like big ticket items. I do want people to know that over the last 20 years, under Gail's leadership, under OMG's leadership, they have done a fantastic job at building our reserves for NARPM. To a point, and now with NARPM 2.0, it's great timing. We have the funds to deploy, right? We're going to deploy it strategically and put it in places where it's actually going to make these initiatives a reality. So that's the other thing is I want members to hear, like, these are not just empty promises, not dreams that we've dreamed up, but that sound good. Yeah. We're actually going to deploy funds. We're actually going to hire the right experts, the right staff to make these things come true. So, and the last thing I'll talk about coming out of the initiatives, there are a lot more, but another big priority for us is branding. We've all seen the NARPM logo. Like even my husband, who's not a part of this community, he saw the logo. He goes, "Can I just say that the burgundy and the hunter are so early 90s, right? Like it is." And he's like, "What are you gonna do about that?" I was like, "You're right." And that's actually something that we're going to prioritize first is if we're going to do all these new things and identify who NARPM is, right? And stand up in front of the public and tell everybody about NARPM. We need to we're going to rebrand. We're going to, NARPM is going to look different first, right? We're going to look different. We're going to have a different website, the old clunky website. We want to do away with that. We want to have a much better user experience for our members with engagement, right? Like, so it's going to look like a beautiful app that everyone will have access to. When you're a member of NARPM, you're going to get to navigate through everything that NARPM has to offer: education, resources, community, member to member communication. All of that will be much easier to find and navigate through. So that's going to change as well.
If you understand that change is coming and AI is this giant industrial revolution, you're going to want to work with a company that is AI by DNA. And that, my friend, is Vendoroo. We are a native agentic AI solution built from the ground up with this assumption that the AI future is here. And what Vendoroo does, it is able to handle 80 to 85% of all maintenance work orders from beginning to end, while elevating that extra 15 to 20% so that you can actually take care of it. And most importantly, just getting you out of the grind and the forever firefight of maintenance so you can do other things. Like one of our clients hired Vendoroo.ai, and within 6 months, the amount of time that saved her from maintenance, she dedicated herself to business development. She started adding 10 doors a month over the last 6 months. It's been 60 new doors. It's been a huge change, huge growth for her business, way more profitable. So if you want to do that, you want to get yourself out of the mundane, get your team out of the mundane, let them focus on stuff that really, really matters. Go to Vendoroo.ai, book a demo with us, and we would love to help you build an agentic AI property management business. Vendoroo.ai, book a demo. Enjoy the rest of the show. As you were saying your first point, right? Like if the first point was like, hey, we've been promising for a long time, we got to deliver. And now you're saying first thing we're going to do is branding. My first question was going to be, we're going through a similar thing here in Jacksonville where it's like, we've been a city of renderings for a long time and now it's really happening. Right. And it's like, you had to start seeing dirt moving in some of these like downtown renderings for people to start really seeing a future different than the past. And I wonder what is for NARPM 2.0 overcoming that similar kind of thing. Like, man, we've been promising stuff for a long time. What do you think is the first domino that like tips over, that starts getting people to really believe that these are no longer promises? Is it that branding and website piece? Is it some kind of result you think is going to happen first that will be like the thing that you point to?
Result to me is it going to have a direct positive impact on our members' bottom line? That's what people care about. Like, at the end of the day, you can say rebranding is great, new website is great, but what is that doing for me, for me and my management company, right?
Yeah.
So everything that we're going to do is, I think the biggest impact out of everything I said is the marketing piece. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But to tie it all together, right? One thing has to happen first and then everything else. So, I mean, that's a question for you. Do we want to pull like a national level campaign and then in the middle of it, change our logo, change our brand, change our website? What do you think should come first?
I think where I'm fundamentally different than everybody that I know in marketing or content or whatever is I don't think of these types of things as like a audience in thing, which is what most people do. They're like, what do I want the world to see? And I'm going to go make it and try to get an echo from somewhere in some cave somewhere. I think of like, what's the result I can drive for one person that can then tell multiple people and then start going from there. I call it audience in versus relationship out, right? Like if I'm thinking about what you're saying and I agree, right? Like I think branding will often fall as like, well, that's great. We just spend 25 grand, 50 grand on a website and now it looks cool, but what does it do for me? And I think of you wanting to get to a national campaign, but knowing intuitively that you have a cluster of stakeholders in certain places, that you have what in my language is called the super geo of like super consumers, right? I would go really hard, like find what that one test market is going to be. The short answer is the moment that somebody is out there on the internet saying, I got a client because I'm part of NARPM. I didn't even know. It went inbound. They were looking for NARPM and they found me. And if you can drive 5 of those in one city, that's going to create the velocity and you can promote that as like, this is what happened in Phoenix. So now we're going to go to Charlotte and now we're going to go, like to me, that becomes much more real, much more quickly than going national to like try to find something. That would be my true opinion.
Your insight right there is exactly what we need. And that was the other thing we talked about is better strategic vendor relationships. Like we already have relationships with our vendors. We have a vendor council, but there's so much talent out there in our vendor community. Like you guys, right? For example, it's like people at Blanket, people at Folio and all of our NARPM partners, they all have people that do nothing but marketing. And because they're big companies, we need to tap into the brain power there. And say, because everybody wants the tide to rise, right? We want the tide to rise because when the tide rises, so do all ships. And so let's work together. Let's band together. Let's pull all the talents where we can. Doesn't matter if you are a property manager. Doesn't matter if you are a NARPM vendor, a sponsor. Let's all work together and make NARPM better for everybody. So that's kind of where we want to shift is in that. It's like a true community. Because I think we've not done the best job in pulling in our vendors and working together.
Interesting. That's cool. I'm glad you said that, because as you're saying this, I'm like, man, I really want to get involved in this marketing committee.
Yes.
But really, I just think there's a really great track record of it, right? Like if you look at what Second Nature has done, and you look at what
Right.
Blanket's doing, and like the opportunities that we're afforded by being able to like do this content stuff for you. One of the first things I learned in event marketing, which I learned because I had an exhibit house as a client, so we did this like podcast called Event Marketing Redefined, and it's how I understood all this stuff, is like sponsorships at events for most people, for most organizations, are very short-sighted. Like they kind of like just do the same thing as like, oh, give me $10,000 for a logo and a shout out and whatever. But if you start thinking of sponsorships as like these collaborative value added things that you can do, you start to develop things like what Second Nature has created in picking people up and providing these experiences and these content packages like we're doing, and like the NARPM standards like Profit Coach has done, right? Like being very, very deliberate about doing that piece instead of waiting for them to come to you for it, is gonna go really well. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, there's so much talent out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what you said about the marketing piece, that's the exact insight that we need to take this thing. So
Love
what
it.
we've done so far, Pablo, is just
Yeah.
the dream part, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's starting now. We're not waiting until January 2026 with this. Is we are getting the momentum started. We're putting the right people in place, figuring out who we need to partner with, who we need to hire, who are the experts, right? And putting together that team. So the next step is for committee chairs, who are all leaders, right, in the industry, to meet with staff and then come up with actionable plans, goals, set the expectations, set the KPIs, the timelines. And then when January 1st comes, tell the staff or tell the, whoever is we're going to hire for marketing, PR, like go. Like
Push the button.
January 1st, you can go, right? You can go do this.
Yeah.
And then there will be measurables, there will be reports to make sure that we're seeing the results. Like that's the key. That's the key. It's like in the past with the old NARPM, so hard to hold people accountable when they're volunteers. Like, what are you going to do? Cut their pay? Like fire them? You can't do that.
Yeah.
So now we can truly make sure that the results are delivered.
Sounds like bright days ahead. I'm pumped we got to have this conversation. DD, do you have a couple minutes for me to just ask you about you? I'm super curious about a couple of things.
Yeah, sure, of course.
I'll let you take your pick, right? Like as I was learning about you, two things popped out to me. One is I'm a sucker for people with interesting job titles. Right? Because I'm somebody that's created my own interesting job title multiple times in my career. What is industry liaison at Pure? Like, what do you get to do there? Like, and how do you define winning? Like, how'd that come about? Like, tell me more about that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love Pure for providing me the opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was on the NARPM, track a long time before I sold to Pure. Yeah. And actually, before I sold to Pure, it was December 2021 was when I sold. Before I joined Pure, I was already on the board of directors, right? And I was on it because I want to truly make a difference to this organization. And Pure was founded on that. It was founded on NARPM leadership. Like a lot of the initial band of people that got together to form Pure were prior NARPM leaders. John Bradford, Eric Wetherington, Jennifer Stoops, Mike Catalano, like all these people were either on the local level, national level, very involved with NARPM. So NARPM is something that Pure truly believes in and support. And so, throughout my journey with Pure, right, I was on the institutional team, helped build the institutional vertical. And then as I got closer to my role for NARPM presidency, they're like, you know what, DD, we know what's coming. By the way, Eric and Mike Catalano, they're a part of the large brokers group. They're the ones that came up with the concept for NARPM 2.0, right? So they saw this coming like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And they're like, DD, it needs to be like a full-time job for you.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of changes coming, a lot of things happening. So we want you to just do NARPM. That's going to be your first job. The industry liaison piece comes in as with me just going to all the conferences, not just NARPM, but outside of NARPM as well. One, I'm an ambassador for Pure, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And two, I'm also learning about what's out there in the industry. So, because not everybody from Pure gets to go to the conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to the conferences, I'm meeting vendors, I'm learning about the technology that's available now to property management,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that back to the company and saying, hey guys, maybe you should talk to Vendoroo, maybe you should talk to so-and-so because they're doing this and I believe it could help our business.
Mm-hmm.
Or did you know that this new AI is available now, right? Did you know that this technology is available, so that we can implement, we can always stay on top of what's out there in the industry. We can always utilize that to provide better service for our clients. So that's a big part of it. I love my job.
That sounds awesome, right? Like I
love that Pure. Yeah, I love that Pure supports NARPM the way they do.
Yeah, and I'm just always impressed by companies that have the foresight to have these like non-traditional roles, right? Because the idea of what can you bring in from other contexts to me is always strategically like that's where you're going to find an advantage. Like if you're just looking at your competitors, you're not going to find a new advantage, right? Like it's like finding things from outside the context and bringing it in. How do we help people help themselves, right? Like JWB has this, right? Like JWB is four partners. One of them, the president, Alex Safakis, his job is literally just to think 10 years down the line. That's all he does. And that's why they've been able to like buy 20 city blocks of downtown Jacksonville and build a city and do a bunch of cool stuff. And I'm always just very impressed with the companies that have the foresight to create these like non-traditional roles, because those are people that are thinking strategically as opposed to just just kind of like doing the things. That's cool.
Yeah. And and Pure has the ability to do that, right? The resources to do that.
Yeah.
So one thing with what we're doing with NARPM initiatives is we're going to help provide these insights to our members. We're going to deliver it to them, right? Just by being a NARPM member, now you can get all the industry insights. And actually on that topic, we're going to publish, it's like always an online resource of what the latest technology is, like who's coming out with what, like, I don't know what you want to call it. We haven't come up with that name yet, but it would essentially be an ongoing real-time like guide on who all of the new vendors are, like what the new tech is. So even if you don't get to have an industry liaison like me, and you don't get to go to conferences or whatever, you can still see what's new in the industry. Maybe I should, give Vendoroo a call and find out what's going on with AI. Like this is what we're going to be doing for our members. So like I said before, it's like, even if they don't have the same resources like Pure, they're still going to have access to all this information.
Yeah, I love it. Like the PR newswire of like product releases, right? And like being able to go there and own
there you
it.
go.
That's very, very interesting. Can we take another hard right here to another thing I'm curious about? I listened to your story of kind of like how you got in and you went super hard right before the bubble. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, now I can just get a whole bunch of property management clients. I've heard that a lot, right? Like I can't help but think that we're living in a time right now where, right, like pre-recession, a bunch of people were in the middle of flips and were in the middle of like a plan that they had, and then the world changed, and now they're like, well, now I'm going to have to hold on to this longer. And that was like a wonderful moment for property management. And right now we're also in another time. I'm a big believer that in context changes is where great wealth is created, right? Like we're in the middle of another context change, regulatory, affordability crisis, the great generational wealth transfer. And there's all this stuff happening where I think people are having to like, well, what I was going to do, now I got to come up with another plan, and holding on to this property longer tends to be an option here. And I wonder what it feels like from your perspective. Like, what are the similarities of that moment that you lived in 2010 and what's happening right now? Like, it feels like there's an elevated need for it. I don't know if the amount of demand is equal of an avalanche. Is there just like a new place to go look for that avalanche that people aren't looking? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about
Yes, absolutely, Pablo. I can't compare what's happening right now exactly to what happened back then, because that was such a crazy time. And now, the market slowed down drastically. Real estate agents are not selling, houses are not moving. So, of course, I call this the golden era for property management. Like, property management is an industry that grows in times of recession, right? Yeah. I know plenty of management companies right now that are growing 10 doors a week. It's crazy. And that's very similar to what happened to my company back in 2010, 2011, 2012. I was signing up 8 clients a week, right? And I'm seeing that again. So if like property management companies should definitely be ready for that. I mean, it's here already. Yeah. So you got to think in terms of infrastructure, right? Do I need to hire more people now to accommodate the growth? Do I need to implement better technology, right, to accommodate the scale, like to be able to scale this fast? Like, with growth comes growth pains. And that's where you kind of have to balance. You can't just grow because you will implode and die. You have to stop for a second and reevaluate your processes, reevaluate your tech stack, your people, and like, are you capable of accommodating that growth? If you're not, NARPM has some great vendors for you to, to check out, and that can help you. So yeah, I do compare what we're going through right now with what happened back then.
It's an interesting feeling to look around and see, like, there's so much uncertainty in the world right now. Like, it's really hitting me in like these like big feelings kind of like moments, right? Like I told you, like that anxiety attack I had on Wednesday has a little bit to do with the state of the world as well, right? But like it is, I've been looking around at it and I'm just like, man, I guess I feel like property management is kind of like this industry that is so, I think it's short-sighted to say it's counter-cyclical as much as, because it does do well when, stuff is in chaos, right? Like, and other people are suffering, like all of a sudden, like renters goes up. But like, I just think it's more than counter-cyclical. It feels like it's just like a very well insulated critical need that's always going to have to happen. And it has a certain level of inelastic demand that is on the right side of all these trends that are happening. And I feel like really fortunate that I stumbled into this space at this moment, when that plus AI plus all these things, right? Like, it's cool.
It's an exciting time for sure.
Yeah.
To be in this industry. Yeah.
And now NARPM 2.0.
And NARPM 2.0. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah, me neither. DD, thanks for making time. I've heard a lot about you. I've, like read up on you obviously, but like, it's cool to connect. I'm looking forward to seeing you at nationals, and I'm really, really pumped about the stuff that you shared from a community enthusiast, as somebody that looks at it differently than most people look at it. I'm really, really excited to kind of like be in the guts of this and live through it. So thanks for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so glad you like what you heard, and thank you for giving me this platform to be able to share these exciting news.
For sure.